Chris, I muted you if you wanna call the meeting to order. I can unmute you. Are you talking?
Are you talking to me now?
Yes.
All right, I just got online. I just heard you, so I can hear everybody.
Great. Would you like to call the meeting to order?
I will, as a matter of fact. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Wednesday edition of the Needham Park and Rec Commission here for Wednesday, May 21st at the Town Hall. I appreciate everybody's flexibility. As you know, we usually have our meetings on Mondays, but due to scheduling conflicts and other items, we had to move the meeting to this Wednesday. So, again, I appreciate everybody's flexibility. One thing I want to do tonight is we're going to run this meeting a little bit differently. Unfortunately, I have to be away for work this week, so I'm not able to join live. But we do have a very important topic to talk about tonight that we have Katie King, our deputy town manager, some other special guests there tonight. So out of respect, I'm going to ask Cindy Chaston to run the first part of the meeting with Katie and the McLeod Field project. So Cindy, thank you very much for stepping up, and I will yield the floor to you to run this part of the meeting, please.
Okay, sure. Happy to do it. So thanks everyone for coming. I'm Cindy Chaston. I think most of you know who I am. Longtime Park and Rec Commissioner. If anyone would like to sit at the table, you're welcome to come up to the table where, our meetings are famously informal, for better or for worse. So, gotta run this as efficiently as we can. So, thank you for coming. My understanding is that we need to talk about the bleachers or the stands at McLeod and what we need to do to remedy the visual situation. So, I don't know who has the most information.
I can walk through the presentation and
Sure.
options. So while Stacy's pulling that up, I'd just say I'm presenting other people's work, so I want to say Justin Savignano did quite a bit of the heavy lifting. He's our assistant town engineer, as you all know, but we have the whole team here. So Stacy's been involved, Ed, Karison, Shane, and Tom Ryder, all from DPW, are online. And Ryan Madden, also athletic director, we've been in touch with. So just to start, great with the visual. Can you make it just like a little bit smaller? I don't know if you can make it fit the size. That's fine. So to orient all of us, we have this beautiful new field and a wonderful project. I'm so excited to see the Needham Channel clips come through every week after the games, and it's really wonderful to see it come to life. I want to point out as we kind of start off here that you all know this well, but at the current setup, the bleachers are kind of pulled back from the baseline. And so there's the grassy patch, then there's the accessible paved pathway, then there's a concrete pad where ADA seating is allowed, where wheelchairs can be on that pad, and then the bleachers are behind that. So just to orient us. So on the next slide, Justin graciously went out and took some real life photos so that we had a clear understanding of kind of the challenge that we're grappling with. And then he has some photos after to give us a sense of the solution. So this is existing bleacher views. The first row seated is the bottom-most row. And then as we scroll through, you can see this is the bottom row if you're standing. The next one, this is the highest top row seated view. And then the top view if you're standing. So the challenge before us is that we have a visibility issue for spectators. It is a challenge for all viewers, but then particularly for folks who have mobility issues and have to be kind of on that concrete pad for their seating. If you go to the next slide. We have been working on, wanted to come back to you with some options so that you've had some choices of what could be done to address the situation. So Sorry, I don't know if you can now zoom in on this, but. See, but, so the options really are gonna fall into two categories. There's category one is related to the pads, and category two is related to the bleachers. So what you're looking at right now is option 1A, and in this one, it would be leaving the pads as is on the backstop. But then along the first and third baselines, we'd be reducing the height of the pads. Right now, they're 38 inches and they would come down to 24 or 30. So about half the height along those baselines, and the bleachers are behind those sets of pads. I'll talk a little bit more about funding options and timing and such, but just say that this option, the cost estimate is a little over $27,000 for this one.
So, sorry, just to be clear, the pads remain, just gets shorter.
They get replaced with shorter ones.
Yeah, shorter or adjust the existing pads. Yes, to bring them back.
They get a lot shorter, right?
Well, half.
Half, right, yeah.
About half the height. The challenge you have is there's existing steel there that support the rest of the netting system. So to set everyone's expectations, clearly it would lower the pads and it would increase visibility, but you'd still be dealing with that steel in place.
Right, cause that's not in your, the dealing with that steel is not in your $28,000 estimate.
Well, that steel needs to stay in place to support the rest of the system
Understood.
that's there, so
So you're gonna have the pad and then a steel.
yeah, you'd still have that bar there.
And then
That would
fence
be some
between
sort
those,
of-
and then fence between the
Yes,
pads.
so the gap there that you'd gain with the
Missing
shorter
pad.
pads, you'd have to chill that in,
With
whether it
chain
be
link or
with
something.
chain link or netting or something to that effect.
And then how do you protect the kids from that steel?
You would.
You're not.
You're
Okay,
not.
so at a
That-
4
that
foot
is
level, there'll be a
exposed
steel
the
plate
same
there
way
for the
that,
kids
like,
to
if
run
you
into.
had fencing, you'd have a rail along the fence.
So how do you
so-
do that there? You can't put that rail there.
No, he's not, he's saying
You would,
if you
wouldn't
had.
have, you wouldn't
Oh.
have that. I think that so there'd be a visual, they would put some sort of, similar to the yellow caps you'd have in the
Mm-hmm.
outfield around that piece of steel. So at least there's a visual barrier and
Yeah.
something rounded, so you're
Not
not.
an ADS pipe or something protective pipe.
But it's
So
not
clearly
the most
less safe.
ideal
Clearly-
solution for.
Clearly less safe for the kids.
Potentially.
Potentially,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's padded
You
now.
don't exactly.
It's padded
You would
now.
have-
That would be an unpadded solution.
Less padding, yeah.
Option 1B. Know that, so for this one, similar solution that we just discussed on the baselines, but it also would reduce the padding to a similar height behind the backstop as well. And the cost estimate for that is just over 32,000. Let me pause and just talk a little bit about funding sources and timing as opposed to waiting to the end. And then we can go to the bleacher options as well. So in the May 2024 annual town meeting appropriated funds for a DeFazio fencing project. That was kind of broader fencing. That came in under bid, so we have a balance in that financial warrant article that could be applied to this project. And so that funding is available, and kind of that money can extend across fiscal years, so we have some flexibility. The timing wise as well, just to confirm, there's no permitting required for these.
For the option
The
of
padding.
lowering the pads, no, I don't believe there would be anything. I mean, I could double check, but there should be.
Yeah, but no, it's not like the bleachers, we have Concom, so this is not that.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh,
And
So-
lowering the padding, do you have to buy new pads? Do you, like, you don't just. cut
We were
the
looking
pads, right?
into adjusting the existing pads.
You can adjust them, okay.
Can I ask a funding question?
Sure.
So the original project, right, was approved at, I don't know what town meeting. There was a certain amount of funds set aside. How did the original project come in comparison to that original appropriation? And are those, depending on what that answer is, I guess, where are those funds?
The project's basically fully spent at this point, so
It
there's
was.
not a balance available
Okay,
from
so
that.
it came in on budget.
Yeah, we
Funds
understood.
are good.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I think also just of note for this project, so there's no permitting, the procurement is a shorter process. We have an on-call fencing contractor. And so then our ability to execute it on a faster timeline for this one compared to the bleachers. So we could do this summer and fall, and then it wouldn't impact the next spring season for 1A or 1B. So if we go on to the options 2A, B, C, these are all related to the bleachers. So in these circumstances, the pads stay exactly as they are, no changes. So option 2A is, can we go, sorry, just stay on just stay on this. Is we're moving the bleachers closer to the backstop and elevating them in all of these options. The difference between them is for option 2A, we're only moving one bleacher. And so the other bleacher would remain. We'd basically be solving for visibility on one side, but not the other. And that's $90,000. Option 2B is the same. We would move and elevate one bleacher, but we would pour the pad for the second one so that if we wanted to come back to it later, we would have already kind of been out there pouring the pad, and we would do it all at once. So that's just around $100,000. And then option 2C is to do both of them. So pour the pathway closer to the backstop, move both bleachers and elevate them up. So these would be new bleachers. We're not elevating the bleachers we already have. Stacey, maybe if you go to the next line.
Just quick, is the blue, is that the outline of the bleacher entirely? So it would connect, they would, if you did 2C, would they connect or would they be split
No, they would be
No.
two separate
Okay.
bleachers.
with two separate ramps?
Correct,
Blue is the
yes.
expanded
Yeah, the
asphalt.
blue says asphalt.
Asphalt.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So we're basically making the pads larger,
It's okay.
sliding the
I'll take your
elevated
word. Yeah.
bleachers
Yeah.
to towards the back.
And addressing it with ramps.
So
Yes.
the next slide shows the new
Yep.
bleachers. So there's a ramp coming from the back
Mhm.
with a landing pad up.
Mhm.
And now the accessible seating is also elevated on the first
Great.
level. And we would be purchasing new, so our existing bleachers, we would repurpose to another field, and we haven't talked through where or
Yeah.
what that would look like. But we obviously have an asset out there now,
And so the pads stay the same, the pads that we have,
stay
they
entirely.
stay, we use.
The new bleachers would be right up against the screen.
There'd be a.
Yeah, there's a
pathway.
walkway, the bleacher
There'll be a small walkway and then,
on the bleacher, yes.
okay, good,
On the,
on the
Could
ground.
be an ADA path in front of the
No.
bleachers.
No, no,
On the elevated bleacher,
on the elevated bleacher.
like the bleachers are elevated and then
Okay.
they're a walk.
That's
So
right, Justin.
you'll expand the pathway and push that closer to the backstop in order to access both bleachers. The existing concrete pads would also be expanded to extend where the existing path is, to make them larger for the elevated bleachers and allow for a pathway for someone in a wheelchair to go up and around the back of the bleacher to the ramp and get on top. And so there would be, once you get up to the bleachers, there would be a pathway on that bleacher system to
Right.
then someone in a wheelchair would be at the height there to see over the pads.
Right.
Then you'd have your typical steps that would go up.
I guess the
Whatever.
question is, if you're looking at it from top down, right?
Yep,
Where, if you've got like, this is your net, right? Here's your backstop, right?
yep,
Are the bleachers tight to that?
no, you have a
There's-
walking path between the,
For who? Or for what?
in order to get to both sets of bleachers.
Oh,
You still need a
oh,
walkway
oh,
to get
you-
to the other
you-
side.
You
to the
can't,
other
you can't do
bleachers.
behind the
You
bleacher.
can't do the ramp. Why wouldn't you just go up the ramp?
Yeah.
No, so. So I don't know if you wanna go back to the diagram of the proposed bleacher system.
Go the other way. There you go.
The ramps on the back of the bleacher.
Correct.
So, I mean, there is some configuring when you order these bleachers, you could get the ramp swapped to the other
Correct.
side,
Yeah,
vice
you
versa,
can do
put
anything you want.
stairs on the other
Yep.
side, so. In order to make it work.
Again, but what precludes the front of that bleacher, right where Stacy's cursor was, right?
Yep,
What precludes the front of that
from going.
from being
height
tight to the
up.
path? So that's how it's typically done.
yeah,
That's right.
Typically, in this situation, right? That bleacher would be tight to the backside of that pad.
Yeah.
So that you don't have there's no ability, like right now, someone can go into the back of that pad, right? If you're on the backside of that. Typically, they go, because this bleacher's elevated, it gets
Yeah.
you above the height of the pad. And it actually protects anybody from the backside of that pad, right, in the steel frame. So it would go tight to it,
And you got a ramp on the side up.
and you've got a ramp on the back and the side anyway. I guess that's my question. What would preclude
sure.
that front of that from being tight to the back?
So from a constructability purpose of why it's set up this way, we're expanding the existing pad that's already there
Right.
and we're building off the front of it. Could you then
This would be the new
expand
pad
it
cost.
or just
Well, you gotta
more
expand it
concrete
anyway.
work? So you could, yeah, theoretically, you could just make a larger pad, slide everything forward.
Just to be clear, you're talking
But
about, like, what?
A walkway.
Four
So
foot.
you're saying like when you'd be in that first row, you could basically be touching the net.
Not the first row, the pathway,
The
right?
Right.
So like if you were.
Yeah.
Is everyone okay if I get up? Or,
Well, I think-
like,
I was gonna tackle you. if you got
yeah,
up.
if you're standing here,
Yep,
right,
you could be,
the net's right there.
correct.
That's the way it's, just so everyone, that's the way it's typically done at with these type of situations. So this space, whatever this dimension is, I don't know what's this dimension. Is it, it's not even, it's not shown here, right, so 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah.
Right, so you got this net, the net's here, going up, and you can literally put your hands in the net if you wanted to.
Yeah,
But most people don't, because they're
guess-
sitting in bleachers.
yeah.
So could someone stand?
I mean, I guess from a safety
Absolutely.
Could stand.
Yeah.
perspective in my mind, if someone could be like on the net, you're right up against it if a foul ball came
Yeah,
at them,
that's still the case right now.
if you were to walk up to it, yeah.
It's the same.
I mean, that's the case at all of our fields.
Correct.
Right.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
just-
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's a worse safety. In
Yeah.
fact, it may be safer because of, like, at eye level. Like sitting there right now, you're more likely to get like a fastball that gets barely hit and flies straight back. Whereas now if you're standing at this level, that's like your knees, where it's like your face, if you're standing there. Does that make sense?
Right, because you're elevated.
Right? Cause you're elevated, right? Like, so like if the net ends, like, if the padding ends here, right? And you're standing here watching it, that foul ball that is most likely to cause someone harm. Is the one that like it's a fastball and they just nick it and it goes over the catcher and over the umpire, which is like face level, right?
Yeah.
So if you have this 3-foot space where you can stand, you're more likely to get hit in the face than you are if you're standing up here elevated. Now I'm up 4 feet, I'm gonna get hit in my knee. You know what I mean? Like
You're not gonna get hit.
you're not gonna get hit
No
either
one's
way.
gonna stand
but
at
like,
the,
that's what I mean, like.
no one's gonna stand at the net.
I just wanna say that in our design, we are not designing for anything that's more or less safe for a spectator, so I just don't
Yeah.
wanna imply that that
Right.
is factored in here.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
just, because
Understood.
we're bringing bleachers closer.
This is
to
about
be
the
able to
viewing
play.
experience, the
So,
viewing experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I will say that, like, I think when we gave feedback originally, this is the design that Andy described on top, like right on top. That is the design that we envisioned as the user group to be that. It wasn't to be 3 feet off of the netting. It wasn't whatever the heck it is now, 18 feet, 18 feet off the netting. When we gave our feedback of what we thought the field should be, it was the design that Andy's describing, which is the design of most every softball diamond that has this type of padding. Just,
It's
Okay.
elevated seating, that's.
that's tight to the.
That's,
Yeah, I mean, for conversation of what it would cost, it'd probably be additional cost to make the concrete a little bit larger, but I don't think it'd be like some crazy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cost estimate 166, that's what I'm seeing for this.
yeah,
166.
With 2 sets. of
that's for doing
bleachers.
it both
With
sides.
2 sets,
Right.
Basically, if we went down this line and we're doing all the site work, the order of magnitude to make the other concrete slab larger in anticipation if you were ever to do in the future. Is worth doing than to come back later and remobilize another contractor down the line where it's gonna cost more inevitably,
Yeah, if you're
so.
not gonna do both bleachers, you should do at least the bleacher and the pad,
Correct.
so the
From a-
100,000 over the 90,000.
because you're already out there. Right, Dustin's point.
That's,
And so, Kay, how much money do we have?
Yes,
Well, when
if
you're
you
ready.
don't mind, yeah, why don't
Yeah,
we just
keep going.
speak, that's just a different angle,
Yeah.
but it's showing the elevation of the bleachers. So Justin, we asked if he could try to give us a visual since it's both coming closer and elevated. So these show, I guess just to say, for the existing bleacher view, if you want to think about the pad solution, you're kind of dropping the black boards by half,
Okay,
with granted scaffolding still remaining. And then if you scroll down to the next one, this is the view from the raised bleacher perspective.
That's the very first row, the bottom.
That's the bottom row.
right.
Yeah. And then if you keep, so
Yeah.
we did it, Justin did
I was
it.
on a ladder trying to. Going up measurements, so.
Oh, I had to do that during.
You were on head shoulder. Yeah, you weren't on head shoulders.
This is all of the duty sets aside. Okay, so it can keep throwing.
But there is a significant difference when you
Yeah, of
go
course,
forward,
yeah,
yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
So
Can I
it's
ask
not
a
like,
stupid question around the current bleachers? Just something between the 100,000 and the 166,000. And it doesn't solve the lower level, but could you move the current bleach, like how much of that extra 66,000 is the bleacher itself?
Substantial.
yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean,
all-
would-
And the bleacher and the labor to install the bleacher.
Right, I guess,
You're getting all new bleacher.
no, I know, but I guess like, look, I obviously think we should do that, but if there's this point where you're like, we have these two bleachers. We're only gonna pay for the one biggie. And then the other one, like, if we have the pad already set, why not move that one up to where the pad is, even if it's not elevated? Because at least then you
Oh,
have,
you could
You could.
easily do that.
right, I mean, then you would
The
definitely have
only
better
thing-
viewing that way as well.
Yeah.
Well,
You would.
I don't know because.
In the top row.
Correct, you would
In
still.
the top
lose
row.
over-
Yeah,
The
you still-
closer you
you can
get
write
to
in
the
front of
padding,
the
you're just putting a higher
Yeah.
wall. in
If
front
you
of
ever
your
go
face.
there when there's a game happening, nobody sits in those.
No, because you
bleachers.
can't see anything.
And
Right.
if they do, they sit in the top row.
Right.
That's
And they
what it
usually-
is.
They stand, yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Right.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
No, so I mean, if you kept it at grade and moved it
Correct.
closer,
It's fine.
the bottom rows, you're just looking at a wall.
You're
Right.
gonna-
Okay, maybe just, yeah, go to the overview. So in terms of funding source and timing for the bleachers option, we do have a available funding source, for the bleacher option, available for the commission's decision. The Park and Rec revolving fund has a balance that can support even one's, 2C, the 166. Let me just say, these are also cost estimates we have to procure.
Yeah.
So, these are, best estimates, but things always change. We're ordering metal bleachers at a time where costs for metal change regularly. So all that to say. So the revolving fund, can support this project if the commission wants to go in that direction. We can talk about timing of making that decision depending on kind of the commission's discussion after this, but I do want to call out that our ability to complete the project before the spring season is uncertain. So it's 14 to 16 week lead time to get the bleachers in, and that depends when we're kind of get the green light to put in the order and do the procurement. We have to do permitting with conservation because the first baseline pad or both is in
But you're
the
getting,
buffer zone
but you're going
and
less in the conservation, correct?
Yeah, you're moving away.
You're moving away.
process wise, you still
You
have.
don't-
to-
I-
I get it, I do this, I do this. Yeah, it's but my point is, it's right, you're going, you're lessening.
It's just.
the situation. So it should be an administrative or minor application. Already existing approved. Yeah, so.
And we would have to do a full procurement as opposed to the padding where we have an on-call
Right.
contractor.
Right.
So those are the differences with our ability to kind of
Yeah.
implement it on
If
time.
you're gonna go in
That's
this
the time.
direction, would do as much of everything in-house in order to get specs, plans and
Yeah.
specs out, get things out to bid,
Put a
and
bid
everything
package
else.
together.
But would wanna move on that to try to get that out like this fall. Or like end of summer, beginning of the fall, we
Yes.
need to get the site work so we can order the bleachers and then be
Do all the
putting them
concrete
in
and everything. Yeah.
right before,
Yep.
ideally next season,
Yep.
so would be.
Even out of town case, it's doable.
So how
I
much,
just wanna, oh, go ahead.
how much money do we have in the revolving fund? Do you know?
So I don't have the exact balance, but because we're working actively with accounting and Park and Rec at year end to kind of shore up all of the accounts, make sure everything got credited and debited from the between the operating, revolving, et cetera. But order of magnitude, I'd say $500,000, just to give you a ballpark sense. Those funds have to be encumbered before June 30th. They don't carry over to a future fiscal year. They roll to the general fund and then to free cash, except for $10,000.
Stacy, what would you normally use this fund for?
The revolving fund?
Yeah,
So the revolving fund basically takes in all of our programs.
Yeah.
Like our year-round programs, so let's put it this way, the only things it doesn't take in is anything related to the pool,
yeah, just sound.
tennis badges, and summer camps that we run. All of those are our bigger moneymakers, and those go back to the town.
Yeah.
So this, in addition to our programs of field fees that we charge all of our user groups. So most of the money that we use outside of the needs for those programs are for field uses.
And I would add, we would not typically have that size of a balance, so it's not that.
seems
at the-
sizable.
Yeah, that seems like. a lot.
Yes.
Yes,
I don't know what you guys do here, but that seems like a lot of money.
It's not a typical annual balance, and it's not what the commission should expect to have in that revolving fund. So because there was a delay in the billing for the field user fees, the money came in for multiple years, all
Good
in
news,
1
bad
year.
news.
Yeah, so, that's the anomaly. So we
Mhm.
normally wouldn't have this balance.
And it needs to be spent.
And this,
Or-
well,
or
it
at
needs to
least
be
encumbered.
encumbered or it will
So no,
go.
it doesn't need to be spent.
Gotta be
These are
funded.
all town funds
Yeah.
and, ultimately they all retain back to the town for all of the town
Oh,
It
needs.
would go back to the
They
general
would-
fund, right?
It goes to the general fund.
Go back to the general fund,
Park and
right?
Rec.
You would lose it.
So,
You're right, it would go from under our jurisdiction.
And it goes-
Like we could come up with a couple other ideas.
so it rolls to free cash, which is the most significant source of funding for next year's capital projects. So,
So does this leave us short for anything? It doesn't in parking lot, right?
No, because typically moving forward now that the field invoicing is right sized, we would carry a balance to a point, but for the year, and then it would kick back every year, back down to 10,000,
Okay.
so it's
Okay.
only because of the field invoicing. Good news side.
Right, right. Okay, so you would need a decision from the commission as to what avenue we would like to go down.
yes.
Okay.
Before the end of the fiscal year.
I mean, if
Or
you're
sooner.
voting this meeting, that's great. If you want to take a vote at your next meeting, we just need to have a direction so that we can encumber the funds, before June 30th.
Okay,
But they have to do some work, so
right,
this
right.
meeting or your next one would be
Right.
for both.
So, Chris, you're on the line, right,
Oh,
Chris?
I am, as a matter of fact, yes.
Okay, so I'm happy to give my opinion and then have you give your opinion and have Jim give his opinion. If
Yeah.
that's okay with you.
So yeah, please, Cindy, go first, and then Jim, I'd love to hear from you, and I'll finish it up.
So my opinion from the beginning has been that these bleachers are, I don't know how long they're gonna last, but 25 years or longer. So we should do what's the right thing right now. It's not like in 5 years we're replacing them and have an option to do this. So I really think, it was an oversight somehow in the plan. Right, things happen. It's unfortunate that we didn't know about it, but now we know about it. Safety wise, it seems like the safest thing to do, right, for the players and for the spectators. And it seems silly to me for a project this big and a field this nice that we wouldn't do the right thing, especially since we have the funds without having to go to the well again. It does take it out of what will eventually be free cash, but I still feel like this is a good use of the money. So I would vote in favor of the new bleachers, the new process.
2C.
Yeah, it's 2C, yes, 2C for the 166,000 roughly, right, is an estimate. Jim, what do you
I
think?
went by there today, so like, I'm in favor of moving them as close as, right, and you got the screen to protect the
Yeah.
spectators, so if they're right up, to the screen, that would be the best alternative, and I'm totally in favor of it.
Chris, you wanna weigh in?
Yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. We built this field for the players and the programs and the safety of them to do anything of option 1A, 1 or 1B, I don't think is an option. I think it's great to see the pricing difference, but we have, if not the best, one of the best complexes here. And to listen, the oversight is there. We own the oversight, but I mean, option 2C is the only thing that me personally I would ever consider.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. If you're comfortable, we can vote, can we vote tonight? We can vote tonight, right? We could vote tonight. Michelle is in here. There are three of us, so we have a quorum. I know from talking to Michelle that she's in favor of fixing this issue as best we can, but shouldn't speak for her. But Chris, are you comfortable with us taking a vote tonight?
I'm very comfortable with that.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion. Before I do, I'd like to thank you for doing this work. Thank you, Justin, Ed, thank you, Katie, and you guys for chiming in. So really appreciate that.
We're good at that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, jeez.
That's
Don't get me
okay.
started.
It's okay. You can use it.
Chris invited us, so wait.
No, that's okay. I mean, rather have you here and hear your thoughts than to find out something later on that we should have considered. So, what would you need from us, Katie? A motion to proceed with option 2C, since the number isn't
Yeah.
final, but, so I make a motion that we, the Park and Rec Commission vote to proceed with option 2C as presented tonight with the cost in the ballpark of $166,000.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Chris, would you like to vote?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so passes 3-0 unanimously. So thank you, appreciate the work. Really
Thank you.
appreciate that, and the explanations were very simple, so
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Thank you, Justin.
Sure.
Yeah,
Great. Thanks all.
terrific.
You're welcome.
Good
to
night.
stay.
No,
Welcome
no.
to stay, our meetings are
Four
riveting
nights.
and-
Oh, you don't all have to get up. Cindy did a great job.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your time as always.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, all right.
Yeah, we're.
Chris, would you like to take over running the meeting at this point?
Yeah.
Michelle is not here. I'm happy
Yep.
to keep
She
going. I'm not
is-
that happy, but I will.
No, you did a fantastic job. And listen, Cindy, I really do appreciate it. I mean, to have somebody in the room to run a meeting like that, it made it a lot easier than being remote. So I appreciate you helping out and stepping up on
Sure, so we can, you would
Okay.
like, we can move to the director's report.
that. Definitely, yes. So Stacy, Hannah, it's all you.
Sure. So director's report, I'll go through it quick, because I know you guys spent, all day yesterday and reading it, obviously. Court badges, the numbers are looking, they're definitely up from our last meeting, although we are still close. I do want to mention, I did this last Wednesday. So it has been a week, and we have been getting, according to me signing off on deposits, money has been coming in, so these numbers could have changed drastically within the week. I just only had time to do them last week. But I will say, May 1 to May 15, so 15 days, and we had $41,000 as a total program revenue. That does not include any of our passes or our court, our pool passes or our court badges.
So how do you feel about the court badges? Do you think that we're on track to? Because I would have expected more, quite
I think
honestly.
so yes and no. It's hard to compare year over year. I mean, I can look at the data year over year, but the
Right.
weather plays such a big role in the spring. And it has been kind of crappy to play. And so like, if you get a slew of days and there's a bunch of people out at the courts, then all of a sudden we get a whole bunch of badge purchases. So it's hard to compare. It's just apples and oranges every single year. So I'm hoping they go up more. Our pickleball and our tennis lessons are filling. So that also will drive the numbers up. But again, I think Chris has been running tennis lessons on Saturday mornings, and like 3 out of the 5 have been canceled due to rain, so.
And where is he doing those at Newman?
He's doing them
On
at Newman.
Saturday, you can do it at Newman,
He does
okay.
Saturday and Wednesdays at Newman, 5, if I remember correctly, so.
But we're not gonna do Newman in the summer, didn't we decide that we weren't gonna do Newman?
We're not doing Newman in the summer.
Okay.
There, it's
Mhm.
just spring. Correct. Spring programs, we're on the tail, we're sort of going on the tail end of our spring program, so there's less and less of them, but, our numbers are looking good, and the percentage filled is what I like to look at. Some programs Like for our tennis lessons, as you can see, we did talk to USTA and some of our, and you can see 120%. So they set a minimum, but they took some extra people, so that's been great. They've been super helpful with that. Same thing with our kids' lessons. At one, it looks like we have 175%, so we're killing it on that one. But those are big programs in general. So pool passes, so our seasonal passes. We are more than halfway to where we were last year. And so I think we're doing well. I think the discounts made a big difference. Although I am getting a slew of emails. I didn't realize that the thing ended. Can you give me the discount? No, thank you.
Even
I bought-
I bought passes during the discount period.
Did
Did you hear that, Chris Gersten?
I did, as a matter of fact. I think it's great. You do it every year.
Oh,
So I do wanna say we were scheduled to open Saturday, as in 3 days. Because we're having a nor'easter tomorrow and the weather's supposed to be 60 degrees and Devin let us know today that he was working in the pool for about 5 minutes and his hands went numb. We are not
Mm.
opening on Saturday. Sunday looks also like it's going to be canceled, but I will.
that too.
No, it's like half and half, but the water is so cold and I need to make sure I can get my staff in the water to test them. To make sure that they can do the rescues before I can put people in the pool.
And it's not worth putting the solar covers on if we think they're gonna fly away either.
Oh,
And
right,
it will
the
just
bad weather,
protect the
right.
60-degree water.
Yeah.
Those are only good if the water's already warm.
Yeah.
So, but we are planning on opening Monday at the latest.
Okay,
So Monday will be open.
okay.
I still won't recommend getting in the water, but it is supposed to be sunny and so we're gonna open on Monday.
Monday, iPhone's as high as 70, so it's not really
Balmy.
hot, but
Balmy.
Oof.
today.
Heat wave.
And again, pool passes are looking pretty good. Swim lessons, so you'll see that 2025 looks kind of like a checkerboard. That is done on purpose, so we decided to offer specific lessons at specific times because we were just not filling our lessons at all. These were just posted last week, so the numbers are really slim, but that doesn't mean anything. We've been getting inundated in the last week or so.
Yeah, this is without any type of promotional thing, and then on top of that, I think I've spoken to 2 or 3 different families about adaptive lessons as well.
Yep, lots of adaptive and a handful of adult
Mhm.
programs or adult swim lessons.
And can we talk about go back to the passes for a minute. Are you, I mean, we're still below last year. I know it's May. Do you think we'll sell many more as we get to the latter
Yes.
half? I mean, it's, okay.
So
I mean, we've
usually
reduced our prices a little.
when
held
we
Firm.
We held them firm. When we
Yeah.
open the pool, our non-resident memberships jump.
Okay.
So these are pretty low right now, but usually between the last week of June and the first couple weeks in July, our non-resident memberships jump. And so that will, I think, kick us up pretty close. Swim lessons, like I said, just got posted. Swim team was posted a week and a half ago. Those numbers are looking good. Those will be on track. My guess is that we may have to cap them because 133 is a lot of swimmers to get through for,
We don't usually limit it, do we?
we haven't had to,
Yeah.
but when you have 48 numbers and 3 lanes, it makes it really
Mhm.
difficult or 4
Yeah.
lanes. Summer camps, for 2025, the gray boxes are the ones that we are not offering, so tennis, obviously, and engineering. And then this summer, we just didn't get a week 7 in, we don't always get them in. But these are our numbers, these numbers are also jumping up, we've also seen an influx of financial aid requests come in the last week or so.
More than usual, you think, or just somewhat typical?
So
Can you
I
tell?
don't typically get the first emails for financial aid, but with Dom gone, I've taken that part over.
Okay.
So it seems to me like we're getting inundated, but he may have said like, no, this is normal.
Yep. Yeah.
Michelle had asked me to put these updates on here, and these are just some of the repairs that Wu has, sent pictures to me about. And that we have ordered and are in the process of fixing. Some of them have been fixed, some of them we're still waiting, like this piece for a cricket, still waiting on that one. The double slide at Broad Meadow still waiting, so we've got some stuff coming through. But these are the things that we're doing.
So not good weather for the tournament this weekend. It's awful, right?
There's not a lot of, so there's rain on Saturday, not a lot of rain, it's gonna be freezing.
Okay,
It's
but
gonna
not
be-
rain, so, okay.
But so for our purposes, it's going to be okay.
For the
For the
fields,
players, it's not gonna be great.
in this spectator.
And it's,
Yeah,
it's,
the
it will be
families.
worse for the spectators.
Right, yeah.
Field and facilities. Everything is open and Parks and Forestry has been and will continue to be all this week prepping the fields to, bolster them for the weekend tournaments. Courts are open and active and the pools will open still technically this weekend.
The new nets for pickleball,
Nice.
they're really nice.
Good. For staffing, we are actually quote unquote full and hired. That being said, we have had a couple of kids back out at the last minute. And a few kids that have updated their vacation needs. Some of them are only able to work 12 days over the entire summer. So
Unbelievable.
So we may be backfilling a little bit here and there, but by and large, we are full.
I think this is the most amount of guards that we've had since I've started to.
Yes, and it's
Really?
because we've had more vacation time, so we need to be able to.
And what summer is this for you? Is this
This will be my third.
3? Okay, that's what I thought. Well, that's good. That is good.
Capital projects, so Claxton Field updates, tree planting, pathways are done. Tennis courts still is looking more and more level. Ed had a crew in there while the tennis court people were in there to like trim up the back trees against the neighbors. So that was done last week as well. That looked great. And then at town meeting, Action Park and Elliott School were both passed. So those design monies will be available July 1. We will go out to bid for design. And this is where I wanna sort of set expectations for the commission or my thoughts on these two projects. So Elliott School has to be a project that we construct in the summer. So ideally, we design it with the working group this summer. We put in
Yes.
money in October to request for construction money, town meeting hopefully approves it. In spring of 26, and then we break ground July of 26,
26.
and we get it all done before schools open again in September.
Okay.
Typically, we try to do design 1 year and construction the next year. For the Action Sports Park and pickleball courts, I'm not sure we should try to move that quickly. I think, because if we have to design all of it in this summer at the same time that we're doing Elliott, I don't want to shortchange this project. It's
Mhm.
going to be very large. That's just my feeling about it. I mean, we can do it however the commission wants, but with the sports park and the pickleball courts, I wouldn't wanna lose anything before, and we have a lot of work, a lot of user groups for these two projects.
So what would you propose?
I would propose that we spend a year or more than 3 months designing this. And so we would we could either pull construction, we could ask for construction funds in the fall of 26 or the spring of 27.
So you'd push
Stacy,
it back 2 years. Go ahead, Chris.
So just quick thing, and maybe I heard this wrong, in regards to the action and skate park and everything like that, we're not planning on using CPC funds for construction. I thought the town had already put it in their financial budget. So in regards to,
Free cash. Correct.
okay, so free cash, okay, so it's not like we have to have something prepared like we would for the Elliott project to go to CPC. This is,
Not for CPC, but for town meeting. Town meeting still has to approve it.
okay,
So
nope,
So
they
the
would.
budget request would, if we wanted to do it for this coming year, the budget request goes in October.
got it, okay.
Both CPC and capital, like town meeting money.
So what I heard at town meeting was this was not gonna be CPC, which was a surprise
Cause
to me.
there isn't any money.
There's-
Yeah,
They
yeah.
spent it all in the housing.
well, I
Which
should
is
be
worthy.
something in the recreation.
No, no, no,
budget,
it's
But I agree.
But
Um,
between Elliott and Action and Tennis and
So if it was going to be next year's project, wouldn't a request go into town meeting for next spring? Wouldn't it go to the May town meeting?
we would have to have a budget number for construction, meaning the whole thing would have to be designed and ready to go
Okay,
by October of this year.
why, oh, because it wouldn't be in the capital budget?
Because I need to, when I submit my capital budget requests in October, we
Yeah,
have to have a somewhat concrete construction number to request for town meeting to vote on in May, the following May.
so you're saying to put it in for, to have that number by October, you have to have the design done,
To know what the cost for construction would be.
right? Because we don't typically have that, I don't think we have that timeline. If we have, a design, I'm not arguing with you. If you think it's the right timeline, then obviously I would defer to you, but typically if the design is approved at spring town meeting in 2024, then 2025 spring, we come back for construction, right? But you're saying, and so I don't know that October was ever that firm, but if that's coming down from the town manager's office.
Yeah, so the last 2 years, so we used to have to do CPC in December.
Yep.
And capital in November.
Yep.
Now, both of them are somewhere in October. That I have to submit my final budget to them. Now, it can change a little bit between then and May, but. It is getting increasingly difficult to figure out if we can,
So
so we have a July to October timeline where we have to
Yeah.
design this $3 million project. And this particular project is gonna have two different sets of user groups that are gonna wanna be involved. Public
right, and
meetings, working groups.
I think that is
Yeah.
fine, and I understand all of that. I'm just surprised that that timing is backed up so far. I would have guessed that we had into the early part of calendar 26.
The first
to-
round goes. Like I meet with town management about my capital request in December, and I used to submit it
Right,
and
right.
then.
So why is, I mean, why that
That-
crunch sets up and it's gonna extend the timeline for every project, right?
Potentially,
Is
yeah.
that the idea?
Do we have to decide that now? Can we see how things shake out? Cause I know every year you wait, it costs that much more.
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
So-
We
Right,
can, but.
exactly.
My gut feeling says one of these projects is gonna get. I don't know that we can do 3 different projects, cause while Claxon is, Action Sports Park is one project, it's still 3 different projects, right? It's not, sorry,
It's two,
it's
right?
2, but we also have Elliott.
And so are we prioritizing Elliott over this? And is that a priority? Is it, I mean, is that a number one and this would be 2 and 3 or 2 and 2
I think it
A?
depends on you, Massey, but,
Yeah.
Elliott is a priority because it's not, so Elliott is important to think about because. Of the sinkholes that are currently in the field. That are causing safety issues and flooding and everything else. I think the public process for the Elliott is going to be a much shorter. Public process than it will be for the Action Sports Park.
I would say overall it should be an easier project, not gonna
Yes.
say easy.
Yes,
Um,
but I think that the user groups are very specific for that group, like we have the schools, we have the neighbors, we have. NEDP and we have us, those are the 4 main user groups.
So my concern, my biggest concern, and Chris, feel free to chime in at any point, my biggest concern is the further out you push. This action park, the less likely it becomes to happen. And I really believe that, cause I think it's gonna be an uphill battle to get this. It's competing with so many other things, and you saw what we passed at town meeting, I mean, we spent. I don't know how many millions of dollars, nobody added it up and I didn't have the heart to, but, even though this isn't directly competing, there are different buckets, this is competing
Yes.
in the taxpayers' eyes, so I feel like the longer this gets pushed out, the harder it will be
I'm not suggesting that we don't start July 1.
Mm.
I'm just saying July 1 is also summer is the busiest time for the department.
Mhm.
And so for us to be running public meetings in the summer, which the public does not like.
Right, right.
And we have typically 2 or 3 public meetings for big projects. I don't know that we can get it all done before October.
Chris, what do you think? I mean, you,
So, I mean, I do see in regards to the pecking order that Elliott, we are under a specific timeline because you can't really do construction while school's in session. We're very fortunate that we're able to do the tennis courts right now, but that's a little bit offset because it's a bigger off to the side project. So I do see the timeline there that we need to hit that timeline for Elliott. We can't go longer because it is a school. I definitely agree with that. I also agree with the severity of we've never really done an action skate park before. We have done fields, we have done tennis courts, but with the action skate park and the pump track, these are 2 new things that we have never ventured onto. And there's not a lot of engineering firms or consulting firms that have designed these. So it's not like a plethora of a Cataldo or BH+A or Weston and Sampson. It's a very specific. So if their timeline is to rush it, we don't want to rush it because that's a big, hefty price tag that we don't want to mess it up. So I can definitely see that. But again, with it being the season, we can ask and see what their timeline is. Maybe they might be able to come up with it because I think CH+A would be the design firm. No, they were just, okay.
No,
Would,
we have to go out, we have to procure the design, so we have
Correct.
to go out to bid, which we can't do until July 1.
right, when the funds become available. So,
Yes.
and who knows
And-
if someone doesn't bid on it, I doubt, but that is that possibility. You could have a firm that no one bids on the project because they're not familiar with it. That's going to extend the timeline anyways.
Mhm.
So-
So is the, are you thinking that it is more of a staffing issue, that, not a staffing issue, but the staff can't really swallow, and I actually am sympathetic that this is just too much for you folks and whoever else is involved in the town to handle this at this point, because I'm sympathetic to that.
Yeah,
Is
no,
that
I
the
hear that,
issue?
and I think. I think it would be a significant lift to get. If you think about all the design bids will go out with 3 public meetings, multiple working groups, and to do that for 3 different projects, because you're gonna have different. For the Action Sports Park, you're gonna have 2 different user groups.
So you see that as 2 discrete projects, I think.
I see them because I think we're
I
gonna
do
have,
too.
we're gonna have 2 separate, at the very least, we'll have. 2 separate subcontractors, we'll have the skate park subcontractors and somebody that can build. A pickleball court, and there is not a firm that can do both. Right, so
Yeah.
you can design with one firm, but we can't construct.
Right.
And so we're gonna have 2 discrete. People helping us design this, or
Okay.
2 discrete subcontractor firms, so.
Mm.
I don't necessarily wanna stop the process, I just wanna set the expectation that we may not. Have a. Hard and fast construction number by October. And unless town management changes the budgeting process.
Right.
Because basically by the time we are shutting down the pool, I'm already figuring out the budget request for springtime meeting.
Okay, I can.
So
understand.
I think we get the money, we go out to bid, we do the things so that we can start the process, I wanna set a realistic expectation that it may not be what we're hoping for because of the scrunched time.
Okay, and you don't see this coming to CPC, because it sounded like this was not.
No, there's
Nope.
no money in
The
CPC.
team is already at town meeting, has said, no, it will come out free.
Okay. Then I guess I would ask that there be a pretty well-disclosed timeline for how this project would work, because my concern again is just that the longer you push it out, the less likely it is to
Can-
happen.
Can can you build one at a time? Cause I imagine pickleball courts much easier to design than
The skate park.
the skate park and, we.
Pump track.
We can request. So we got design for both, we can
Right.
request construction money separately, it is the same location, but 2 different sites. So that is a possibility.
Chris is up to.
Hey, yeah, it was really staticky bad. Now it looks like it's up and working. The Wi-Fi
Oh.
connection here. Hi, everybody.
So those, that is an option that we could discuss with the design firm, the design over
Yep.
firm. My guess is that the same people we have bidding on our design projects now will be coming, and I think this one will create more people coming out of the woodwork because of the uniqueness of the skate park.
But so you still think that this will go out for bid in a reasonable amount of time, the design piece of it?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, and I think we just start the process and see where it goes, and maybe the pickleball moves along pretty quickly, cause it's a
Yeah, it's kind of,
concrete
seems kind of a,
project.
yeah,
There's a,
Yeah.
I mean, it's similar to tennis courts.
Yeah, it's very,
It's just smaller.
yeah,
right, different
Um,
lines.
so that could be an option that the commission decides, we're gonna design, but then ask construction for one year and construction for the other the next year.
JC, quick question. I should know this, but I don't. Who actually physically writes the bid? Is that you? Is that someone in procurement?
So it's typically done by Cecilia Sinchek.
Okay,
She's the assistant finance director. Also, DPW has a lot of analysts that typically run them, do the bid process, do the procurement. There's a couple of new people over there that will do that, so I don't write it per se.
Sure.
It gets written, it gets sent to me to make sure that all the things we want are in it. But most of it's legalese, so
Okay.
I don't understand like 40 of the 50 pages, so.
right.
So-
No, the only request I would have is like whoever does submit it, be as close to that July 1st time frame as we can. Like I know, there's certain legality wise that they can't, but like in a perfect world, that bid goes out July 5th.
Sometimes it goes out a little bit before, depending on the project, so it wouldn't be unheard of that happens. But I can talk, it just all depends on what is the bandwidth of DPW and Cecilia.
I hear you. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
What
let's
committee
go on.
works on the, oh, I'm sorry.
No, Jim, finish up. I just have one more follow-up question, but you first.
What committee works on the design with the firm?
So for most of our projects, we like ask the working groups, like for the tennis project, we talk to the high school groups, we talk to some adult tennis players, we talk to so we get like a working group, we put it out to the public, does
You
anybody?
start out a working group.
Yes, we
Got it.
create a working group. So for like pickleball courts, we would reach out to pickleball community.
Like I'd
We
like
would-
to be on that if,
We would talk to
When the time
the,
comes.
yep, there's usually a commission member, we would talk to the high school, we would just talk to different groups in town, obviously, we are always a part of that, because we're the ones running the project. And for the skate park, we would invite people in town, people in the skate park community, those kinds of things, so yeah, we just create one for each
Okay.
project. Same thing with Elliot, talk to the school, wellness director, after school program, all the people that are like the main user groups, so. We would essentially have 3 different working groups for these 2 projects.
We do invite abutters too, right?
We always invite butters,
Well, that's interesting, the abutters, there are abutters to that park, even
Yep.
though it feels like there
Yep.
aren't, but there are.
and Elliot's definitely has a butters.
Oh, with Elliot, definitely, yes.
So we certainly notify them, and abutters generally don't, I mean, unless they're passionate about it. They usually just come to the public meetings and say their yes, but we do make sure that
The
we.
Elliott abutters are pretty, they're very close
They're very
too on that,
close.
the people who are on.
just on, the
Central.
ones on Central.
On Central,
Central, there's a
right?
private road that goes behind there, and they did talk to us at one of the planning board meetings.
Yes.
Because they just repaved their road, and because it's private, they had to pay for it.
Oh,
So they were
okay.
asking to not ruin the road, and I said, well, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I can promise you that the construction company has to put it back the way they found it.
Right.
So somebody from that street, I'm sure, will be involved.
My only question was a follow-up on Claxton. When is the next site visit meeting? I mean, I've been dying to get in there, but it's just Fridays haven't been working that.
We've been
Weather has been
actually
cooperating.
moving it around so that you can't make it, so, I can't. I don't think there's one this week, I think we've been going every other week, just because it's giving, we're moving pretty fast, but we're at the point where it doesn't look like it's moving fast, so they just met last Friday, Hannah was there, and I think I can find out for sure if it's gonna be this Friday, but I think they bumped it to the following.
Okay, perfect. No, I'd love to visit because I mean, I remember there at the beginning when it was just dirt. Now it looks so great that I'd love to check it out.
It has come a long way.
I had more questions in the last week from people who drive by there. Some from Needham, some from out of Needham saying, what's going on at that field? Now, the ones from Needham, I would just can't believe they don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But the people out of town, I'm like, what are you doing there? It looks like it's gonna be a fabulous facility, so.
It
It's
is.
getting visibility
great.
now that it's spring.
Yep. Yep.
All right. All right. Anything else on the director's report?
That's it.
Okay, great. Let us now go on to discussion items. And of course, I read that as Needham baseball, softball apparel, but no, it's appeal. Stacy, walk us through this. What's going on now?
So Needham baseball softball, you guys have seen the appeal. They have followed up because we got another email today from Andrew Fink because he couldn't be here. Basically, they want to appeal our decision to give adult softball field space on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, as well as Sunday mornings. They are also upset because the appeal process is that we would come to an answer within, well, A, it says we'll give them an answer within 10 days. And B, they were initially upset because they said that the policy reads that I get the first decision. And then it goes to the commission or the whatever commission. What I have told Andrew Fink is like, I did make a decision. My decision was to bring it to the commission. To have them make a decision. My decision was to not vote on it. What I have done since then, and Chris, I just printed it out.
Okay, you can
I'm gonna hold it up for you.
snap this.
I can send it to you later. What I did is I have a spreadsheet here in front of us. And Nikki, I'll make sure you get a copy of it tomorrow too. From 2019, with the exception of 2020, we have essentially allowed adult softball to have almost exactly the same field space every single year. I cannot go past 2019 because I only have 1 year from Patty. But if you look, I mean, the dates change a little bit. When we started, adult softball actually had 3 nights. In 22, it's dropped to 2 nights. Sorry, 25 is actually 2 nights as well. I have to update that, but I'll update this and send it around. Nothing has changed except for a little bit of the dates in 6 years. So, and if you talk to Temple Beth as well, and Temple Aaliyah, as well as Al Shapiro from Adult Co-ed Softball, this arrangement goes back many, many years. But like I said, I only have to 2019, so
Because they go way back.
yes.
I mean.
And so
back to
I
field
just want to make sure,
segments.
like, my understanding in my brain was that this has been the same since I started, and I just wanted to go back and like confirm through our permits that this is indeed exactly what we've been doing.
Yes, I mean, as long as I've been dealing with it, or known about it, that's always been the case. I never knew it was 3 nights a week, so that was something new. But I think where the biggest pinch is, especially with this year, is Claxton being offline. That, and especially with the horrible season that we're having weather-wise, is that everybody's doing makeup games, everyone's got to get certain things in. That, with the weather coming, it's not helping this weekend. That I think it's with the bad weather and with being one of our major complexes offline, everyone's feeling the pinch. And it's not, and I think Cindy, you might have worded it some way, is that we're not going to let another group not play just because we're doing a bigger project that's going to benefit a lot of user groups down the road. And that just seems to be what's going on right now. Do I feel bad that yes, but I mean, I think we even talked about they have it 5 nights a week and they have the majority of the time. Like you might even say Needham baseball and softball has the softball fields 80% of the time during the week. And we're just giving up 20% to the, adult softball groups. I think that's a very fair trade.
I texted you a picture of the spreadsheet that I made, Chris, just so you can look at it, but yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, listen, do I feel bad? People are, if they had to get certain games in because of league requirements, yes, that's when you kind of work it out with the other groups that say adult softball isn't using it next Tuesday and Wednesday. Why can't Needham baseball and softball plead their case to them to say, we need to get these games in because of A, B, and C. Can you help us out there? To kind of go down the appeal process and being like, no, no, you're taking it away from us. I don't think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing precludes them from talking to other groups and saying, hey, can you work with us, cause we need to get these 5 games in before the end of the season. And I don't know how often Needham baseball uses, they do permit it, but I don't know how often they use it, the turf softball field, but that never seems as busy as it could be.
I want to say they used it at the beginning of the season, like on Saturdays, that they work something out just because, of the horrible weather that we've had. Maybe they could use that. I don't know, but it's not going to happen this weekend.
No, and now we're heading into like high school playoffs, so that field is sort of like ill-advised to be used during a, lacrosse game. So it just depends, but right now, one of the temples is using Pollard on Sunday mornings until noon.
Mhm.
I have to update that, don't I? Yes, I do. One of them is using the Temple Beth is using Mitchell on Sundays from 8 to noon, and adult co-ed softball is using Upper Broad Meadow on Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep.
So that's it.
And again, they've been doing this since the dawn of time. This isn't
For
something.
a long time, a long time.
One of the appeals was that why don't we ask them to go later in the evening, but Needham has a dark sky initiative, so we can't go past 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
We can't have lights past 9 o'clock, so even when Claxton has the upgraded lights, it
Right.
doesn't actually matter.
Mhm.
So that's town policy?
Town policy is all lights have to be off by 9 o'clock, with the exception of, there's some, like, football on Friday nights can go until 10, the tournament this weekend can go Friday and Saturday till 10. But like, those are all like separate, you have to get a special variance for
But that
them.
could possibly be changed in the future.
That, it would be, that would be a policy for the town.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, but yeah, it's a bylaw. Yeah, it's not easy to change, we don't have the ability to do it, but it is certainly possible.
Right. So what are they looking for from us?
Whether or not you agree with their appeal, or if you wanna keep the permitting as is.
I'll listen to the other commission members, see if they have any ideas. Cindy or Jim, feel free.
So they just want the field all the time? The youth groups?
I printed up, I
Okay.
PDF'd the
Mhm.
whole email exchange.
I read it, but
Yeah,
I
this
didn't,
chain is-
I didn't really follow it all, what exactly they're looking for. But
Interesting.
I think you can't like totally preclude the adults from playing. I mean, you gotta be a little fair.
So I think his issue is that if we followed our policy, they should get priority over adult groups, right? Isn't that kind of the crux of his
Yes,
issue? I mean, his issue is he needs more time, wants more time. And he's saying that because they're a youth group, they should always get priority over an adult group, which is what our policy is. But I do think within our policy, there is latitude for us to make judgment calls.
Right, didn't it say the Parks and Rec director can
Right, but
change it,
um,
or something like
guess-
that?
I guess I
that is what
would,
our policy says,
if,
and
if I could ask a question, how much time has his group, and is this all of Little League, is this all of baseball? I guess I'm not sure what group it is.
so Needham baseball, softball, request fields as one unit.
Okay, as one.
So it's you typically a 6 or 7 page document that we get from
Yeah.
Needham baseball, softball for all the different fields and diamonds and
Okay.
the different age groups.
So how much time are they missing from what they expected to get, do you think? Do you have any idea? Are they missing? And just approximately, are they missing, 10% of their time? Are they missing 25% of their time? Like, how big
So
is the problem?
compared to 24, 23,
Yeah,
22,
yeah.
nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. The only thing that is, the only thing that has changed is the locations. Because
Okay.
Claxton is down.
So they're no longer at Claxton, they're now at, are they at Broad Meadow? Where are they? They're-
One's at
they're-
Broad, one's at Mitchell, one's at Pollard.
Okay, so they have the same amount of time. They could presumably play the same amount of games. They're not happy with, the location, right?
And the weather obviously has played a factor.
And the
yes.
weather has, but yeah,
With
so,
the exception of 2020 because of COVID, it has been the same.
so,
I
go ahead, Chris.
I do have one thing, because I'm looking at two screens here. I do see one other caveat that I do want to bring up. With Upper Broad Meadow, that size field is specific for one user group in regards to baseball wise. Is that Needham Baseball and Softball has a 50-70 program. That's the distance of the plate and the mound and everything. That is the only field where 50-70 players can play. They can't play at Mills and Small and the other fields, and they can't play at the high school because of the size regulations. I do see that the program that plays 50-70 has those two games, I think, scheduled for next Tuesday and Wednesday, that I know they are part of a league that if they do not get their required games in, they will not be eligible to play. So I do see the concern on that one. But in regards to, say, everyday play, anybody can play there. So I just want to bring that point up, is that I do see the request because of a specific age group and group that has to play on that specific type of field or dimensions, if I can word it that way. So I do see a point on that.
So you're talking in general or just the next 2 days?
Just in the next 2 days, like looking at one of the other ones, there's a kind of a cut and paste on there of that they had scheduled games, I think on the 20, what's the date? Sorry, the screen just went blank on me. The 27th and 28th, that those look like those are scheduled games for the 50-70 program. That is not part of the softball program. So I do see the point of that because of that particular program. So if this is a one-time thing of, hey, we'll let you have those 2 days, I have no problem with that, but I would not do it as a permanent of you're going to get it 7 days a week. I do see the point because of that specific one, which again is all kind of runs back to weather related. If we didn't have bad weather, everybody would have played their game. So you can't really blame it on that, but I do see the specific requirements because of that dimension.
I don't negate that necessity. He doesn't actually request that specific, right?
Right. I was just by knowing the program.
No, right. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying like
Okay.
that, but that wasn't part of it. I mean, I think he should just call up adult soccer or email them and say, hey, can you do this?
I agree. No, I agree fully. That's the
Is
way
he-
they should
Do we know
go.
if he's tried that?
I do not know.
You want,
When the initial like conflicts come out, it's just the two user groups and it's, you're requesting the same day, the same time at this specific field.
Yeah.
And it's very slated, like, if you can figure this out amongst yourselves, please do so. If Park and Recreation needs to make a formal decision, then we will. But I think other than the emails that I was included on, I think a solution was given, but it wasn't gonna be a suitable option for an adult league.
right,
And
right,
so there was an option given, but I think the flexibility is kind of hard, and like we're all saying, like if Claxton was available, then this would
This would
be
be
an
an
issue.
right.
And I get the space of the, whatever you were calling it.
50-70.
Yeah, that,
50-70.
but I think, like, I always say in this week especially, like flexibility is much appreciated, but.
Right, it is, and I mean, I do try to remember, because that it's only one season, but one season to a kid is a bigger deal than it is to us, right? One season to me seems like what's the big deal, but not to kids. If they're, certain age group. Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's a hard one. I just don't see where we can throw adult softball off of the fields. Like, I just.
I mean, they got their permits in on time. It's not like they forgot to put their permits in. They submitted them just with everybody else.
Right.
I mean, if, just looking at this, right, if we look at 2025, you have 3 hours the first day. And then you have 4 hours, that's times the amount of weeks, or it's not always congruent, like sometimes they don't have games here and they let us know and we're able to free up the space, but. In the minuscule amount of hours that they're missing out, I think that we like really. Kind of like what Jim said, are we gonna just take away that opportunity from adult or the adult groups or?
And I think,
hard to find. Yeah.
it's big to find softball diamonds or diamonds of any kind that adults can hit at, that aren't gonna hit people's houses or into another field. We don't have that many, right?
Right,
So Mitchell's
right.
already tight, Pollard is probably the most usable for
The most
adults.
open, yeah, you're right.
And Broadmeadow's just as difficult, but it's what we have.
Mhm.
That were the safest options for us to choose, so.
Agree.
Yeah.
So I guess what the biggest thing is to go back to Andrew to say, could you reach out to adult softball for your next week? Because that seems to be the most pressing. That going forward, we're not going to kick adult softball off. I see that, baseball, you have a predicament. This is the time that you become a good neighbor and ask to say, hey, can you help us out? If they decide not to go down that route, we can't force them, and we're not going to force adult softball off if they don't make the contact. That's my opinion.
I agree, I agree with you.
I agree too.
I mean, I know that puts it back in your lap. I'm
I know, sorry to do that,
Uh,
but we're given options, but if they choose not to go with them, again, you can't force them.
Do the kids use Avery? Is that too small even for the kids?
The kids use Avery, I don't know if it's.
I thought.
I don't know if it's a 50-70.
No, it's all the Upper Broadmeadow is the only 50-70. Avery is a little league size field.
Yes, I mean, the softball teams do use them, but if it's that
No, true, you're
particular
right.
thing, I don't know.
You don't want to put adult softball there. They'll probably hit the temple from there.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Definitely hit it over the
Yeah.
street.
But all right, so do you feel comfortable with the resolution to go back, Stacy? I know I hate to go back again, but we're giving them something, giving them one more lifeline.
Happy to.
Okay. All right, next up, disc golf.
how's that going?
So I did receive an email from Bob Baker. That was a nice email, but basically he said, what do we need to do to move forward this, like, as soon as possible? I did reach out to Chris and I said, we've got 3 giant projects.
We are well subscribed.
And so I understand financially it's not the biggest lift, but project management wise, it's still gonna be a big lift. We're still gonna go have to bid, we're still gonna have to do procurement. It's still all the same things will happen, so. I don't wanna just keep saying we'll get to it, we'll get to it. I wanna set a realistic expectation for Bob, but I don't feel like the department can handle it this summer.
I agree. That would be now 4 projects.
Is it in the capital plan?
Yeah.
Somewhere, it's in there.
Mhm.
And what's the timing in the plan?
Off the top of my head,
Yeah, I know.
29,
I
28.
don't know. Yeah.
FY 28 or 29. And I'm not saying it can't be moved up from
Mhm.
those years. I just don't think it can get done right now.
There's only so many projects that you can digest.
Just.
Right, that's, I mean, that's just the reality, and even though it seems like a simple one. It's a project, and it's, as a municipality, we have to follow all of the rules.
Yeah, it's certainly a lighter lift, there's no, I'm not questioning that, but it's still a lift. That the
It's still
department has to
work.
run with, yeah,
Right,
and. Procurement has to bid out, and we still have to post it all the places we have to post it, so.
I know
It's still-
I've said this before, I'd rather do 3 projects perfectly than 4 projects okay. So if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right for every project, and we can't put too much on people's plates.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll think of we're not gonna, keep on pushing them off, but we will come up with a better answered email in the next few weeks that we can kind of look at the tea leaves, see what we can do and get them a better time, at least somewhat of a timeline and an answer of what we can do and what the expectations are to manage their expectations. I know they're eager, I understand that, but we're the ones that be managing the project, not them.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, you may.
In addition to the policies and goals for our next meeting for the commission,
Mhm.
perhaps I can distribute the capital 5-year plan.
That'd be
And we
great.
can take a deep dive on if we wanna make any movement through with the projects, moving things around.
That'd be great.
Cause then we can
Okay.
see all of our project ideas over the next 5 years and whether or not we wanna move it to a different year.
Okay.
And then we'll have a harder date for them.
Nope.
When you do that, can you give us an idea of what, I don't know how to say this, what kind of resources are necessary for each project? Because I am sensitive to the fact that you and your department and whoever else, whatever ancillary people help you, can only do so much, right? And so we want the programs to run, honestly, perfectly. We want the pool to run as perfectly as it can. And then there are these projects. And I understand that we can't do all of these projects. And we certainly started town meeting that people are asking. Either we have to add more people to the staff of the town, or we have to reset expectations. So if there's some way you can quantify.
I can definitely talk to the different departments. I can tell you, engineering is the biggest lift. Because right now they project manage all of the projects in town, including ours. And you heard Justin say they'll make the designs, they'll do this for internally, and so they're getting asked for a lot of these different things.
I was surprised to hear him say that, actually,
Yep,
because
and
I'm
so-
thinking that's always been the bottleneck. right,
And
and I
it
think-
continues to be,
right,
right? So,
right.
and engineering has a very large department, but it doesn't mean that they can do every single thing. So,
Right.
we do rely on some of our on-call people, but I can certainly reach out to DPW and be like, what does the lift look like if we were to do this, this, and
Okay.
this?
Okay, that would be helpful.
Mhm.
And it would be helpful to be able to, so that we can explain it to other people. For example, Bob Baker and his group, why can't you do this? Well, because we have these other things, this is what it takes. And they came in ahead of yours, or they were higher priority for whatever reason, whether you agree or not. And, oh, by the way, there's also the day-to-day running of the department with the programs in the pool and
Mhm.
whatever else we do, right? The billing and all of the other management things that you folks have to do. Okay. Done?
Well, and I think for disc golf, it's hard because it is a lower ticketed item, but it doesn't change the process. And I think that's hard for people to understand. And other towns let people do community builds and ours just isn't gonna do that.
Right, right. And it does feel like, could they do something that's, more portable, right? Like, did they have to, you know what I mean? Like we did the pop-up skate park, which in the long run didn't really help all that much, but is there something they can do? That if they came to us and said, we wanna do this in the town forest, we could say, hey, that's not a bad idea, right? Put those, but I don't know. I don't know if that would work or not, because we're not big on that stuff. All right.
You're muted.
It's a dream come true.
Sorry.
Was a
All
dream
right.
come true.
Oh, easy.
Sorry.
I did, so the reorg, we just haven't officially reorged the commission since the town election. So we just need to like officially do the thing where we decide who's the chair and the vice chair. I don't know if you guys wanna discuss that and bring it to our next meeting.
Let's move to the next one when we have all of our commissioners present.
Yeah, and we
Did we
can,
even do it last year? I don't think we did it last
I
year. I don't think so.
but then we can also discuss the policies and goals, which I included in your packet again.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for that.
yeah, then you're up to CPC, which is really just. You're just resting now, Jim, CPC?
No, I'm thanking God that I didn't have to get up and make a presentation.
We all are.
This line is recorded.
Ouch.
No, actually, Jim, I do have to say, CPC knocked it out of the park this year. I think this is the longest I've ever heard a CPC member either talk between David and Keith and like of just many people. No, I mean, because generally it's either CP articles get passed or they get questioned. And I thought CPC did a great job. I think Keith LaFosse did a wonderful job with regards to the skate park and the action park. So
Yeah, and the housing wasn't easy. The housing stuff was.
Oh my gosh,
Lots
the
of
housing
time.
was extremely difficult.
Okay, great. Anything else for discussion items? Nope. All right, moving on. Special event requests, and I'm scrolling down. So
I want to say our responsibilities, we still have Fred.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm like, oh boy.
Oh, my.
yeah, time to update now.
There's only 2 special event requests for this meeting packet.
All right. First one we're looking at is the Temple Beth Shalom preschool picnic, Wednesday, June 11th, from 10 to 2 at either Crickets or Greens. 200 people or 50 cars?
Big preschool.
Ain't gonna happen at Greens, I'll tell you that.
Also half day.
That's a half
It's
day.
also a half day for the
Oh,
residents.
50
wow.
cars for the preschoolers.
Everybody gets a car now.
Even the
preschool-
preschoolers.
Do they not have a facility there to hold something like this? Is that why they're looking for other areas?
I don't know which one is which. Is that?
Which one is
Shalom is
best?
by
But
128.
Shalom's in Highland across from Avery.
Yes, okay.
Uh,
They don't have any outdoor space.
They don't have outdoor space there. They
They
have
have
a
indoor
parking lot.
space in a parking
They have
lot.
virtually no space, period.
Oh, is it
It's a
oversubscribed?
parking lot.
Yeah, it's a parking
Yeah.
lot. So that's
We
a.
can certainly suggest a different location for this half day, but that's the request they put in.
And we don't, I hate to say it, we don't want to push them to Hillside.
I didn't say that.
Okay, no, I wasn't sure. I know like we
I have
kind
a
of
problem
pushing the
with
groups
that.
to
I think the
Hillside.
parking at either of these locations. It's green specifically on a half day is gonna be chaos.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Forget it. Just parking wise, that's not gonna happen.
No, and there's no parking at Cricket, so that's
Right.
not,
Could we suggest Hillside as an option?
we can,
Is there any alternate areas that you would think of?
for 50 cars,
I can just spitballing here.
no,
We wouldn't put them down at Tefazio?
we don't do special events at.
Ah, you're right. Sorry, I forgot.
During the spring and fall seasons.
So couldn't, I mean, for regular soccer, aren't there 50 cars watching? People park on the side streets.
At Cricket,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sure, there's
Yeah, how many
William Street and up,
Cricket.
there's
Yeah,
maybe
50.
15, 20 spaces.
And then people park on Hillside,
People park, there's all
Yeah,
streets
Hillside.
around.
Sunnyside, whatever.
Yeah.
Hillside, yeah.
I also feel like we should start going down the road of inundating side streets of like almost pocket parks. Like we.
I would also need to check, I don't know what the playoff schedule is for the high school.
Oh, you're right. That might be a game day.
So that's, and Cricket's one of our
Mhm.
big
Right.
fields, so that would be my only concern about Cricket is there's no way to know that until we get there.
Could they go to Avery if they parked at their own,
Temple,
if they parked at their
Ooh.
own? temple?
good idea, that's a good idea.
I mean, they.
Look at Cindy
it's not a
coming out of
long
nowhere.
walk, It's a walk,
Right across the street,
kind of.
Yeah.
pretty much,
I mean, preschoolers, so I don't know how easy that is, but
but they can park on
Great
the
idea.
lot.
yeah, so if they could use it, I don't know what else they're having there, this doesn't,
No,
yeah.
they
So they
didn't,
didn't ask for like music and all that stuff. Do we have a portable there? Cause I didn't.
No,
Oh,
there's
there.
no
we are
portable.
putting one there.
Okay.
Cause it was not one there the other, very recently, okay.
Avery's a tough one because I put one there. A year ago and the neighbors gave,
Yeah, I remember they.
so we
complained.
ended up pulling it.
Yeah,
This year I didn't put it there and now the user groups need it. I don't disagree that they need it, but we're playing the game of neighbors versus user groups.
so are you gonna do it, I mean, we're already at the end of May, is it,
We'll probably put it in for, if not Friday, Tuesday.
so I'm just thinking if they were there with the
Yeah.
200 people, I don't know if they need a portable, they can also walk back to the temple if
Yeah.
they need to, right? I mean, I don't wanna micromanage their event for them, but.
I can reach out to them.
Right.
if-
Although they're preschoolers, so maybe.
I know,
they walk back
jeez.
to the
But
temple.
they drive though.
Yeah, they have their cars. they can
Right.
just go.
Anyway, that's a thought, it's a thought.
I can certainly reach out to them.
Okay. So, but it looks like they have, ooh, They don't have a lot of time. Do you want to reach out and put it in your discretion, Stacy? Okay, so I'll make a motion for our director or assistant director to reach out to Temple Beth Shalom with alternate locations and options for their event request and leave it up to the discretion of the either two of you to make the right call.
Second,
Right? Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Cindy?
yes, aye.
Tim?
Aye.
I am also an aye. More on your plate, Stacy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next one up. Family gathering?
No, I mean, I love that these people asked us. But,
So again, we don't ever,
yeah, we don't,
Yeah.
we don't permit DeFazio, it just becomes too chaotic, but. It's one of those family gatherings, is there gonna be a charge? This is, the reason why I brought this to you is not because we can't fit them in somewhere else, it's
Right.
more about, will we charge for this
Oh,
particular thing? At the rates right now for a 3-hour event, now, they're looking for the evening, if you look
right, 6 to 9.
6 to 9, so it would have to be a place with at least some lighting. Although it's next Saturday, so it's not too dark out. But will we charge? Right now it'd be $250 according to our current rates for grass fields under 4 hours.
that is a great question. I mean, but the other part I'm thinking about is I don't think we want to put anything at the pavilion just because of the structural integrity of the pavilion, correct?
No, I'm not even allowing DeFazio at all, I'm just
Oh, okay,
saying.
got it. Okay, no, I hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
location.
So if we put them at Greensfield, for example, because this is 4 cars and
Mhm.
Greensfield, which doesn't have lights, but you're right, it's pretty light till 8,
It's
isn't
late
it?
till 8, cause that's when we close the pool.
So,
I do wanna remind you that for, birthday parties at playgrounds, we do not charge.
and I'm almost wondering if these people didn't really need to come to us.
If I was like.
Yeah, it's better.
like
better not
Pat,
to tell
I would
us.
Just go over to a field and find a little corner and,
Right, I mean, you run
If
the
you get
risk,
kicked off, you get kicked off.
right, well, exactly,
But it didn't, it's not like they're bringing 50 people, they're bringing.
right, that's 13 people.
So they could.
right, it's just a family.
It's like,
They can hang out at the town common.
I would just suggest them a few places where they can hang out and play.
But we can't necessarily tell them it's dedicated to them, right? So if they get there and there's not a picnic table available, right?
Right,
that's
there's nothing for
not
exclusive use, unless they want a permanent, and then if they want a permanent, then the cost does come into play. I think we have to.
Right, I was gonna say,
And
what about
insurance,
insurance?
Yeah,
Right.
they all have to do
No.
that, they haven't uploaded, well, they uploaded something, but it wasn't insurance.
Oh, jeez. All right, so what do we want to do with this one? We're going to deny DeFazio, and I mean,
Give them the alternate location and whether or not they want exclusive use, so I can talk
Yeah.
to them.
okay.
Agree.
Why do I bring anything to you guys?
I don't know, we appreciate it though, so I appreciate knowing that, so that somebody were to say to me, I don't know these people, but sometimes someone says, I asked for this and I didn't get it, and it's nice to be able to say like, well, this is why,
Yeah,
right? So anyway, I appreciate knowing and hearing and knowing what you guys are facing, but also.
yeah, I mean, we
makes me
don't
more
bring all the
appreciative.
birthday parties at playgrounds that people don't need exclusive use for, you don't need to
Right,
have that, but.
Right,
When something like this comes up and it's like, do you wanna charge or do we not wanna charge? Like it's,
right,
and I think. I think some of our policies in general, like we talked about the Rosemary Room, we need to figure that out. I think some of these
Mhm.
other ones we start to figure out too.
right.
Perfect. All right, anything else in regards to special event approvals or such? Take that as a no. No new policies to approve, no fees to approve, correct? Meeting minutes.
I'm gonna
From-
see, again, do not get used to these minutes, because as soon as we get a new person, he's out.
So, but we're gonna use these as a guide, these are going to be the template.
Look
right?
at the,
Oh, while you guys
But we
are
can't do this anyway.
perusing those, we did this week start the first round phone screenings for the admin assistant position.
good.
Because this is a great time for us to be doing that.
Perfect time to be interviewing.
Yep. And onboarding.
So these minutes, I think we can't approve them because we don't have, it's just Chris and myself. Jim was not
Oh,
at
you're
the
right.
meeting,
So we
so
have to,
I
Okay,
think we have to
Yep.
kick this to the next week, but they were excellently written, I'm gonna say.
good job, Nikki. All right, nothing else left under action items and approvals. Chair's updates and issues not recently anticipated with the chair within 48 hours. I really don't have any unless someone else wants to bring something up. Topics for future meetings. I definitely want to talk about this. I know that our Touch the Truck program was this past Saturday, and heard it was a huge success. That just love to go over the basics of that and futures of it is getting so big that we want to see what the options are for future ones and events and make sure we're having adequate space because we talked about it earlier tonight. We talked about safety. We just want to make sure that these locations are the safest areas to put large programs and events like this.
Sounds like he wants to join our committee.
Say what now?
did you volunteer for the Touch a Truck committee?
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah,
I just believe me. I brought my kids there with the younger. It's been a while. I'll help out with Touch the Trucks.
We have 7 meetings a year.
okay, moving on. Well, I'll
Moving
put that
on.
down. Anything else?
Think of anything, any topics from either Jim or Cindy?
Can we talk pickleball at a future meeting?
Sure.
Just in general, or is there
Yeah,
a?
nothing about about,
Not the project, just in
well,
general.
no pickleball.
Got it.
And then we
Well,
were,
Perfect
last,
segue. Let's go into the next
last-
meetings.
last time we talked about signs.
Oh,
Like at
yes.
Davio and all, and I see it in the minutes there, I'm guessing that there's been no. Which signs? Talking about at different fields, all of our signs really,
Oh,
mostly.
Yes.
We have a new sign person.
If we have a new sign person,
a new vendor.
oh, new vendor, okay. And I also think that there's money, I do think we have money in
Yes.
that trust, the Streeter, I wanna say Streeter Trust. Might have that one, but it's definitely trust, I should call Matt Tool and he would probably know. I would,
Streeter Trust.
yes, it was a trust.
That's one of
Okay.
my capital improvement plan goals,
To get new signs,
uniformity with all of
Yes.
them.
Yes.
I like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was just like signs that weren't rotted, but I think that's admirable, if you wanna actually make them be pretty, I like that and consistent.
Rotted,
Well, we're gonna need a new
sun-faded.
one for Claxton. We still have to get a new one for McLeod. Like, yes, we need one.
Mhm.
We did just hang, we redid the Field of Dreams sign for DeFazio. So that's been updated and is now hung on the fence.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. Perfect. That,
What about, we brought this up a while back, about water stations,
Water bubblers.
whatever the filling thing.
Filling
Water
stations,
filling
yes,
station.
we. It is on my list, it got backburnered, but I can bring it back to the front. But yes, we talked about it because we need to. Work with DPW on.
It sounds
which ones are-
complicated.
But it's the plumbing, that's the problem, is because they don't get winterized correctly, the pipes crack, and then we gotta figure it out, but it is on my list.
okay. Anything else we want to add for topics for future meetings? All right. Let us next go on to our meeting dates. That since we're just having a meeting this Wednesday, I don't think we need to meet this coming Monday, correct?
We can't. but
Memorial
then-
Day, or no, is it?
Oh, you would have
Yes,
to send the
yes, it is.
agenda or in by today. So
No, it's Memorial Day.
Mhm.
that too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was looking ahead. Thanks for the reminder of that one. So let's now look at June 9th. I know it's only 3 of us here, but how does that look for everybody for June 9th? And let's even look at the 23rd. Is it looking good for?
23rd is the off leash
Dog.
dog pilot public meeting,
Oh.
so we have to keep that one.
Okay. So
I cannot make the 9th, it's the Exchange Club, Charles Lucas and a charity golf day, I'm not back in time.
I thought it was also Matt Toolin's birthday. Thought you might be hanging out with him.
It's Matt Dillon's birthday that day?
That's what it says on my
Okay,
calendar.
that's not in my calendar, as
Oh,
much as I do
jeez.
like Matt, I don't celebrate his birthday. Anyway, but so I most likely would not be here on the
Okay.
9th, and get back
But-
till late.
I think we can do that. It doesn't, when is graduation for high school?
So. Is it the first Sunday? Usually
It's
the first Sunday.
Yeah, okay,
June
so,
8th.
So,
Got it.
so June eighth, the second Sunday, June eighth.
Oh, then the first
June first?
is the first Sunday.
It is the
yeah, you
first
are, yeah,
Sunday.
it's proms,
June first,
proms the
sorry.
fall, yeah, the Friday, and then, okay, got it. All right, I was just thinking conflict wise. So June 9th, Cindy will be out, but we'll stay with it, and we're gonna keep the 23rd. So I say we just keep those two for right now. And if we need to adjust, we'll adjust, and then we'll look on the 9th for future meetings for July too, because it'd be nice to have, summer plans out.
Well, good.
Anything else? All right. Well, listen, hey, I appreciate, I know it is a struggle and inconvenience to do some things via Zoom, but I appreciate everyone's patience and with doing this meeting. And Cindy, you did a great job as usual. And if we don't have anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. I have a motion in a second. I'll take a roll call vote. Cindy?
Second.
Aye.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, you said second.
He just seconded it, yeah. Aye.
Okay, Cindy is an aye. Jim?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Thank you all very much and have a great night and stay safe with the nor'easter coming through.
All right, you too.